DC here. Hi, guys and gals. Well, it's going to be Spooky University number 105 today. And that was actually a very apt title for this week. It's Black Holes. And why I say it's an apt title, it's because if you haven't read it, or if you don't know about it, Stephen Hawking, this is an article, an obituary in the New York Times. It is, let me see how many pages. It's like 13 pages of obituary. And he's the man who examined the universe and explained black holes, dies at 76. Now, it's a really, really interesting paper to read. I would say it's a little bit complicated nevertheless. I mean, I wonder if the person who wrote it knew actually what they were writing, in the sense, I mean, if they're a scientist or not. But it was quite well explained. Now, the whole idea, I mean, if we think of black holes as much as we know about it, or at least in our concept, was something that basically has, sucks everything in. If you get really close to it, there's no way that you can pull yourself away from it. It'll just suck everything in. And in science fiction stuff, I mean, often these were meant as portals into other dimensions, because you go, and where did you go the other side? Now, actually, Stephen Hawking seemed to explain in his theoretical explanations and all the mathematics behind it and the thermodynamics, is that more or less eventually the black holes, we could say, die in that respect, and when they do, they spit out particles of some type. Now, that would actually, as he said at one point in his life, that would, sorry guys, but that kind of like destroys the whole science fiction fun of it being like a portal into something else. So, that I can't say that I know very much about black holes. I don't. I mean, black holes, at least, I mean, have always been kind of a symbol of something that sucks the life right out of you. If you read the Harry Potter stories, I mean, that was the, what were they called now? The prison guardians at Azkaban, where they would come and they would basically suck you out, suck all your life energy, all the joy out of you. And that's maybe where I will come in now about talking about black holes in an interpersonal way of looking at things. There are people that tend to, in a situation, suck all the joy or all the energy out of an environment, of a situation. We've all known people like that. Or there's situations which are really a black hole, which no matter how much work you put into it, it just kind of goes away and nobody sees it's there because it's just gone. And you have to go and start over. It's like kind of like a Sisyphus job, you just got to kind of roll that thing up and it comes back down on you. Well, the black hole is a little bit like that in an indirect way, because no matter how much you do, it never shows. It's been sucked up, it's gone. Now, the fact of people being like black holes at times are kind of an interesting topic, because now with that new definition, at least as far as I'm concerned, by Hawking, is that after a while a black hole basically, I can't actually say it implodes, but basically spits out something new. Means that maybe there's hope in that respect, is that if something new comes out, it's a recreation. And the fact is, that means that there's probably, we could say there's hope for everybody in that way. No matter what happens, that something's going to come out and it's going to be a new creation. And since matter, I mean, one might say that matter transforms, but energy, basically, the whole thing is it's the same type of energy. You can't destroy energy in that respect. Yeah. So that is an interesting fact. I think that there's something, I mean, it kind of gives hope. Now, it's a bit of it's a bit of I was almost say a paradox that Stephen Hawking, not very long before, well, actually, it was, I think from what I read, it was also in his book, a short description. Was it a short description of time? I never bothered reading it, but anyway, where he talks about the Big Bang and everything, and what was there before. And the way he sees it actually is that time is also like a dimension in a way. So he was explaining that before the Big Bang, it doesn't matter what was before, because in a way he says, he gave the example, if you take the South Pole, which is the most south point as far as we are concerned, what's south of that? And there is still something, but you can't define it as more south than south. That's the way he was giving his kind of image. And so he was saying, that relative to the Big Bang. But we're not talking about the Big Bang. We're talking about black holes. But it all comes to something. Is it when this whole concept of the black hole and the Big Bang is the concept of what happens when you've come to the point where you can't explain what happens anymore. And he with his math and his science, he's kind of explained what happens to black holes. Now, for those of you who are into philosophy, because when you get to that point, by the way, Hawking was very much into all the quantum mechanics and so on, and that's about we could say the particles and the energy and the waves and so on. But when you get down to that, usually a lot of these people go into real philosophy, if not theology, where they start talking about the greater meaning of things. Hawking was an atheist. He said it in very precise terms, basically, that there was no need for a God in his mind, as far as because science was there. Strangely enough, he was relatively often in the Cambridge Cathedral, I believe. Well, the big church. I can't know exactly what it is. If it's maybe not a cathedral, but I know I've been in it. It's at the university, and so he maybe was interested at one point or not in his life. I find it's a pity. A man that's so brilliant still didn't figure that out. But in that respect, it was his choice, and so he decided. He explained things, I was going to say, to the best, and one must say to the very best of his capabilities. He was an incredible person. Once again, we're not talking about Stephen Hawking here. We're talking about black holes. So, now, as far as I'm concerned, Stephen Hawking probably thinks he's gone into some type of black hole. And I think, actually, that he's gone through a portal. Just kind of goes all the way around. And I've spoken long enough on this, so it's an interesting topic. And actually, thank you, Claire, once again, for these really interesting topics. Some I know come from somebody that we know, Dave Nicholson. Some come from other people. You said you didn't. I think you thought maybe this came from Tweetness, but whoever this came from, really interesting topic. And it's amusing how it just came at a time when basically, it's really actual. Okay, DC signing off. It's my very confused take on black holes. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.